Hello and welcome to Workflow Live, the weekly video where we show you step by step how to automate a process in your business, saving you a ton of time. Uh, my name is Andrew Dodds, and today we are looking at resource management, how to visualize what projects people are working on, if they have too much or too little work, and optimizing that entire process. If that sounds interesting to you, stick around. We're going to check it out. We're going to see how to use the timeline view in Airtable, and I'm going to show you some tips and tricks to make it easier. And thanks for being here with me today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see a little clearer what we're looking at here. And you should be able to see the project management base here. So for this example, you only need two tabs, two tables. You're going to need a project tab and a team tab. Okay. Before we go over what you want on those tabs, I want to show you what we're going to end up with. So you're going to have a view. You can see it here where I've got an indication for the people that are working on my projects, Iron Man and Spider-Man. I can see the projects they're on. So let's take a look. Spider-Man's on swamp cleanup during this time period, and it overlaps with the land speeder build for a period of time. And I can see based on his availability in a given week, how many hours he can work, or, project points or whatever it is that you want to design. I can see how booked up he is in this top bar. So I could see 80% utilization moving into 120% during Thursday and Friday, the 27th, and back down to 40% where I could assign potentially more work depending on what that work is. So this is where you can get to this level of visualization, and it's pretty easy to set up through the new timeline feature, which was dropped a few months ago by Airtable. It's a really powerful tool, and I'm going to show you how to set it up right now. So as I mentioned, you're going to need two tabs, and you're going to want to have your projects tab and everything about your projects in this table. For the example, you need to have a start and end date. Okay, so drop those in as date fields. You're going to want to create a linked record field here for linking to the team table for who's on the project so that you can assign who is the project owner. And also on the team table, you're going to want to have an area that is weekly capacity. So this could also be monthly or yearly or however you want to calculate it in terms of a time frame, but you need a number here that basically says here's how many points or hours or whatever it is someone can use in a given period of time. You're going to look that up, pull the information here. So you're going to create a lookup field on the team table, pulling in the weekly capacity. And then we've got three fields here I'll talk to you about quickly. So this effort dropdown allows you to select a level of effort that is assigned to the project, and then based on the effort that is selected, you have a formula here that will give us a number. So these numbers could be, more granular, less granular. You wouldn't even really need to include this part if you don't, but this is a nice plus. So I've used a simple switch statement here to say, look at the effort dropdown. If it's low, give us a 4. If it's medium, give us a 6. If it's high, give us an 8. If nothing's there, just give us a TBD. Okay, so you'll see, let's make this a medium project. We get that 6, back down to 4. And then I have another formula field that gets the value. And without going too much into detail about this timeline view, it needs it to be a number. Based on what we had to do here, it's easier to go ahead and then just mirror that over and say we just want the value, which is we just want the number, not the formula. So this is a sort of a hacky way to go around that. We're going to say get the value of our effort calculation that we did here. So we have that now so that it will show up in our timeline view when we go to pick it, okay? And before we move forward, let's just give this a date. Okay. So again, we are making our way to a visualization that looks like this, so that the benefits for me, for instance, as the project manager or the leader in this group, is I can see how under or over bandwidth we are, and make a lot of critical project assignment decisions based on that. So we'll go ahead and build one from scratch, because there are a few little knacky things that I want to show you, some tricks to making this easier. Okay, so we're creating from scratch. We're going to want to choose our start and end date. You see that it's already sort of pulled those up. Okay, so it knows that we have a start and an end date. We're going to say, yep, we want to do that. And then we want to group the records. In this case, since we're looking at how individuals on the team are assigned projects, we're going to group by project owner. And then we can choose what shows up on the actual label of the project. So we've already got the name toggled on here. Maybe we want to make that bold. We might want to see the status, or the effort. We could also maybe see a description. What I like to do is to basically give it the status, maybe with some italics here. And maybe we also want to see, let's go with the effort level. We'll give that an underline. So you'll see what that looks like now. Let's take a look right there. Okay. So we've got the project name, the status, and the effort level. So that's looking pretty good. Okay. All right, and you'll see we've already got some colors here, and that's going to get confusing down the line when we have a bunch of other colors that are telling us how people's bandwidth is. Okay. So what I would recommend here is to come up here to the toolbar and click on color, and we're going to get rid of coloring it by status. We don't need to do that. We'll just set a condition where projects are just kind of like default gray here. Okay, so it's going to default to gray. Let's refresh the page so we can see that. There we go. Okay, so that's a little visually less disturbing, and you'll see why that's important in a moment. But we've got our projects, and we can see what their progress is and all of that right here. Okay, so we've created essentially the shell. Now, in order to use this utilization feature, we're going to come down here to the bottom where you see summary. You can see that right there. If you click on that, there's a bunch of different things you can do. You could do an average or a sum. None of these are really applying to us here and what we're trying to do. We're going to use the Utilization Wizard. So you can see that here. Our function is the utilization. And we need an allocation for each record, okay? And so the allocation is simply going to be that calculation we did. Okay, so it's the allocation for the project. It's the effort level. So you'll see that it's already pulling in. We can click on select field, and it's going to pull in fields that qualify. Basically, they're a number. And we normalized that earlier. Remember, that was important. So it's just seeing the number. So we're going to select that. And you're also going to want to choose whether this is like a total or a per day or per week. For our example, let's just say it's per week. And then we need to know, well, what are our resources? And our resources in this case are the project owners. Okay, they're the people. And the availability for the people is that weekly capacity that we looked up in that table. If you'll remember, we have that weekly capacity. That's a number of whatever you want it to be, hours or points that someone can work on. And you're going to want to make sure that this matches the allocation amount as well. So I guess in some cases you wouldn't necessarily have to match them depending on your use case, but for our example, it's going to be per week, okay? And one of the other cool things that you can do here is you can set up unavailability. Okay, so you could have a field that says that they're unavailable during certain periods of time. We're not going to do that for this example. And then you can define some coloring of the records. Okay, and this is important to get you that visual aspect. And so what we might do here is say, where the value is greater than 90, right? Give it red. So we know that that's kind of running more booked. And we might add another color saying basically where the value is less than 90. Let's just keep it green. Okay. So I'm sure you're starting to think about how you can, set those different colors and what they would mean to you and what those number ranges would be. That's essentially how you'll set it up. And you'll see at the bottom here, we're starting to get this utilization picture. Now, you could keep it down here, but it's showing us for everyone at once. And so what I like to do is I like to not show it in the bottom summary bar, but rather in the project owner group. So you'll see now that, I can look and see how much percent utilized someone is on their projects. Um, and I can see it at a glance for that individual. Okay, so I'm seeing it for Iron Man here, for Spider-Man below, and I can see where I could potentially slot in or relieve work as an example like that, right? So if we're moving this project now to overlap, you'll see that we can, get the updated information here. So this is the basics of pulling the timeline view together. Now, again, we're looking at a weekly view. Sometimes it can be helpful to like zoom out at like a monthly view, or maybe at least 2 weeks. I kind of like the 2-week view. And I could see how I could move these projects around to make things easier from a resourcing perspective. Okay. So yeah, so that's it when it comes to pulling this together. Now, just to recap, the utilization bar here is taking a look at our calculation based on the level of effort we say that it takes to work on a project, and then we are looking at how much effort someone can put towards projects in a given week. Right, that's the capacity. And then we're just having it do that calculation for us here in the timeline view. So hopefully this was helpful. Would love to hear questions, feedback on this. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like or subscribe. And we're going to be taking a look at forms next week and how you can pre-fill forms and how you can also hide fields on forms to have a streamlined intake experience, whether that's for project management or anything else. So thanks again for joining, and I'll see you next time.